The first time my boss asked me if I saw anything, my brain froze. She stood there on the sand in a blue bikini, cheeks bright red, eyes locked on mine, and said, "You didn't see anything, right?" The wind blew my shirt. And like an idiot, I just blurted, "Didn't see a thing," even though we both knew I had. My name is Jake Sanders. I am 27, and I work as a graphic designer at a big marketing firm in downtown Chicago. The place is all glass walls, bright lights, and people who live on caffeine and deadlines. My job is to make brands look pretty. Logos, web pages, ad banners, all the visual stuff. It pays fine. It keeps me busy. I live alone in a small apartment near the Chicago River. It has exposed brick, creaky floors, and a view that is more steel and water than anything beautiful. My days are simple. Wake up, drink coffee, ride the L train, sit in front of a screen for 8 to 10 hours, then go home and crash with takeout or the gym if I have the energy. Most weekends, I hang out with my college friends. We grab beers, watch games, complain about work. It is not some wild city life, but it is stable. Then came that Saturday at the beach, the day everything shifted. My buddy Mike texted the group that morning. Belmont Beach. Weather is perfect. No excuses. Belmont Beach on Lake Michigan is one of those spots where Chicago stops feeling like concrete and starts feeling like somewhere people actually breathe. I threw on swim trunks, a t-shirt, and flip-flops, loaded a small cooler with beers and snacks, and drove out to meet the guys. When I pulled into the lot, Mike and the others were already there. We were 5 in total, him, his roommate Chris, and a couple of guys from our old dorm. We found a spot in the sand, stuck umbrellas in the ground, dropped our stuff, and ran straight for the water. The lake was cold at first, then perfect. The sun was bright, kids were yelling, music floated over from different groups. We tossed a frisbee, tried dumb dives, shoved each other into the waves like we were still 18. By midday, we moved to a game of beach volleyball. I am not some pro athlete, but I held my own. I even managed a decent spike that had Mike yelling like we had won a championship. I also tripped, ate sand, and got a face full of grit. It was stupid and fun, and far from anything that smelled like a client meeting. After a while, the heat got heavy. The guys wanted food, so they lined up at a hot dog stand near the path. I felt restless, like I needed to move, or my brain would start wandering back to Monday's work. "I am going to walk for a bit," I said, brushing sand off my legs. "Stretch my legs." "Suit yourself," Mike called, already halfway to the vendor. I kicked off my flip-flops and walked along the shore, letting the wet sand squeeze between my toes. The waves lapped at my ankles. The air smelled like sunscreen and lake water. For once, my mind was blank. I headed north, away from the thickest crowds. Families thinned out. The sound of music faded. Seagulls floated above, waiting for someone to drop a fry. That was when I saw her. At first, she was just another woman by the water, standing near the edge with another girl, both laughing about something. She had a blue striped bikini and a light wrap tied around her waist. Her dark hair was loose and a little wavy from the humidity. She tipped her head back when she laughed, sunlight catching her features. I almost kept walking. Then she turned slightly, and my stomach dropped. It was Allison Carter. My boss. The Allison. 35, sharp as a blade, creative director of our team. In the office, she wears fitted suits, heels that click like a metronome, and an expression that says she does not have time for nonsense. Her hair is always pulled back neat. Her words are short and clear. People straighten up when she walks by. I had never seen her in anything less than full work armor. For a second, I thought I was wrong. Maybe this was just someone who looked like her. But then she turned more, and there was no doubt. Same jawline, same focused eyes, same little frown line between her eyebrows when she listened. I panicked. I could pretend I did not see her. I could turn around, dive into the lake, bury myself in the sand, anything but run into my boss while she was in a bikini. Before I could decide, the wind decided for me. A strong gust came off the lake, sharp and sudden. It kicked up sand, toppled a couple of umbrellas down the shore, and hit Allison full on. Her light wrap, a thin sarong, snapped like a flag and flew open. For one split second, everything happened too fast. The wrap blew completely loose. Her bikini top shifted just a little. It was nothing wild, not full-on exposure. Just a quick, very real flash of skin she had not meant to share with anyone, let alone an employee. Her hands flew to catch the fabric, face flushing a deep red as she dragged it back around her. And she looked up. Our eyes met in that exact moment. I felt heat rush down my neck and into my chest. I turned my face away out of instinct, but it was too late. We both knew what I had just seen. "Oh no," I muttered, feeling my heart slam. "Jake," she said, her voice tight with shock. I forced myself to look back at her, standing there, wrap clutched, cheeks burning, was my boss. Not the polished version from the 15th floor, but a real woman on a windy beach who had just had a very real wardrobe fail. "I did not know you were here," I said, my voice too high, too fast. "I was just walking. I did not mean to stare or anything. I was just the wind, and I was walking, and—" I shut my mouth before I made it worse. She glanced around like she was checking if anyone else had noticed. The other woman beside her, who I later learned was her sister, was trying hard not to laugh. A couple of people down the beach had looked up during the gust, but they were already back to their own lives. Allison took a breath, tied the wrap tighter around her waist, and met my eyes again. Her face was still pink, but there was something else there now, a tiny spark of humor under the horror. "You did not see anything, right?" she said, trying for a light tone. The wind blew my shirt. The wrap was not a shirt, but I knew what she meant. I swallowed hard and nodded fast. "Did not see a thing," I said, "just strong wind. Crazy Chicago day." Quote. It was the worst lie and the only right answer at the same time. For a beat, we just stood there, the waves washing in and out at our feet. The boss I usually saw in sharp lines and hard light was standing 3 feet away in blue stripes and bare skin, trusting me to shut my mouth. I had no idea that one stupid gust of wind was about to change everything between us. For a second after I said, "Did not see a thing," nobody spoke. The wind backed off. The world around us went back to normal. Kids yelled. Music played from a Bluetooth speaker nearby. A dog barked at the waves. But between me and Allison, the air felt thick. The other woman standing with her, tall, with a bright smile and similar features, looked between us with raised eyebrows. "Allie," she said, nudging her, "you gonna introduce me or just freeze there?" Allison blinked like she had just remembered where she was. "Right," she said, clearing her throat. "Jake, this is my sister Jenna. Jenna, this is Jake. He is a graphic designer on my team." I did my best to act like a normal human being. I wiped my nervous palm on my shorts and held out my hand. "Hey," I said, "Jake Sanders. Nice to meet you." Jenna grinned and shook my hand. Strong grip, easy energy. "So this is the famous Jake," she said. "Mr. Layout. She mentions you sometimes. The one who always saves her slides." I glanced at Allison, surprised. Her cheeks were still pink, but she rolled her eyes. "I do not call him that," she said, "and I do not talk about work that much." "Sure you do," Jenna said. "You act like you do not, but you do." She winked at me, and something in my chest loosened. At least one person here was not dying from embarrassment. "Are you here alone?" Jenna asked. "Or did we interrupt a guy's day?" "I am here with some friends," I said, pointing back toward the crowd of umbrellas. "They went to get food. I was just walking. I did not mean to crash your sister hangout." "Please," she said. If anyone crashed anything, it was that wind. Allison gave her a look, and Jenna laughed. "Relax," Jenna said softly. "He handled it fine." Allison exhaled slowly, then turned to me again. Her eyes softened. "Jake," she said, her voice low, "about a minute ago, thank you for being discreet." "Of course," I said. "Really, you do not have to worry." There was a small silence. Then Jenna clapped her hands once. "Okay," she said. "Since all parties survived, Jake, you are officially invited to join us for lunch. We have sandwiches, fruit, and I hate seeing people wander alone like a sad movie character. Come sit." I hesitated, glancing back at my friends. They were still in line at the stand, laughing about something. I knew they would not miss me right away. "You sure?" I asked. "I do not want to intrude." "If we did not want you here, we would have run away already," Jenna said. "Come on. Join the Carter Sisters, highly exclusive beach club." Allison gave a small shrug. "You are welcome to sit," she said. "If you want." That quiet "if you want" did something to me. "Yeah," I said. "Okay, I will stay for a bit." We sat on towels they had spread out on the sand. Jenna passed me half a turkey sandwich and some grapes from a cooler. We talked about the city at first, the way summers were too short, how winters felt like personal attacks, how Lake Michigan tried to trick you into thinking it was an ocean. "So you work with Allie," Jenna said. "What is she like at the office? Dragon lady or secret marshmallow?" "Jenna," Allison warned, but there was no real bite in it. I smiled. "She is intense," I said honestly. "She pushes hard. But she is fair. And she is ridiculously good at what she does. When she gives feedback, the work always gets better. People respect that." I saw Allison's shoulders relax just a touch. Jenna smirked. "He is a fan," she said. "Good. I like this one." Allison rolled her eyes again, but this time there was a small smile at the edge of her mouth. We talked for a while. About art, since Jenna did photography. About how Allison had dragged her out for a sister day so she would not spend the weekend buried in work. I kept expecting the tension to come back, but slowly the beach, the lunch, and their easy banter smoothed the edges. At one point, I made a joke about a nightmare client who wanted every design to pop without knowing what that meant. Allison actually laughed, head tilted back, real and unguarded. I had never seen that version of her at the office. Eventually, Jenna's friends came by to pick her up. They had other plans. She stood, brushed sand off her legs, and pointed at me. "Nice to meet you, Jake," she said. "Keep my sister from turning into a complete robot at work, okay?" "I will try," I said. Allison snorted. Jenna waved and walked off with her group. That left the two of us standing there, closer than we had ever been without a desk between us. "I should get back to my friends," I said, nodding toward my crowd. "They will think I drowned." She smiled, small but real. "Jake," she said, voice softer now. "About earlier, seriously. Thank you for not making it weird." I almost laughed. "It was pretty weird," I said, "but we survived." Her eyes met mine, and there was that crack in her armor again. "I trust you," she said simply, "to keep it between us." "Of course," I said. "Our secret." Quote. She nodded once. "Enjoy the rest of your day," she said. "You too," I answered. I walked back toward my friends, feeling like I had just stepped out of a dream. Mike made some joke about me wandering off for ages, but I barely heard him. My thoughts kept drifting back to Allison's pink cheeks, her laugh, her quiet, "I trust you." Until that day, she had been a fixed thing in my world, untouchable, strict. A boss behind glass. Now, she felt like a person, a complicated, surprising, suddenly real woman. I kept telling myself it was just an odd beach moment, nothing more. Then Monday came. I woke up with a knot in my stomach. The train ride into downtown felt longer than usual. Every time I pictured her face, the knot pulled tighter. What if she regretted talking to me? What if she went back to being distant? What if she decided I had seen too much in that 1 second and put a wall between us for good? The lobby of our building was its usual blur of people and elevators. I rode up to the 15th floor, walked past the glass meeting rooms, and slid into my cubicle like I could hide. I buried myself in a logo project, staring too hard at curves and colors. At 10 o'clock, our weekly team meeting popped up on my calendar. No escape. I walked into the conference room last, trying to play it casual. People were already seated around the long table. Allison stood at the head, tablet in hand, in a black blazer and white blouse, hair pulled back tight again. The boss was back. Our eyes met for half a second. She smiled. Not a big smile, not some secret grin, just a small, calm, real smile. Like nothing was wrong, like she was glad to see me there. "Morning, everyone," she said, turning to the room. "Let's get started." The meeting ran like usual. Project updates, deadlines, new clients. When it was my turn, I showed a draft of a logo I had been working on. My voice shook a bit at first, but I got through it. "Solid work, Jake," she said. "Let's try a warmer tone for the main color. I think it will fit the brand better. Keep the structure. It is strong." The praise landed in my chest like a warm stone. After the meeting, people filtered out. I took my time packing my notes, half expecting her to pull me aside and bring up the beach. She did not. It was later that day, by the coffee machine, when it happened. I was pouring a refill when I felt someone step beside me. I looked up, and there she was, mug in hand. "How was the rest of your weekend?" she asked, tone casual. "Did your friends roast you at the beach?" I almost spilled my coffee. "It was good," I said. "Relaxing. You." She stirred sugar into her cup. "Not bad," she said. "Jenna would not stop talking about meeting, the designer with the good layouts. You impressed her." I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "She is fun," I said. "You two seem close." "She keeps me from working myself into the ground," Allison said. "Someone has to." We stood there a little longer, talking about traffic, about the weather cooling down, about how the office air conditioner seemed stuck on Arctic. It was small talk. Nothing big, but it was more easy and natural than any conversation we had ever had outside of work tasks. As she walked away, she glanced back once and gave that same small, real smile from the meeting. The knot in my stomach began to unwind. The beach had not broken everything. If anything, it had opened a door. Over the next days, I noticed the difference. She started asking for my input more often in meetings, building on my ideas instead of just nodding and moving on. A week later, she sent a short message, asking if I could walk with her after work to help pick a birthday cake for Jenna. Standing in the lobby that Friday, waiting for her with my jacket on and my heart pounding, I knew one thing for sure. I was no longer just a random designer on her team. Whether I liked it or not, I was in her world now, and I wanted to see where that would lead. That Friday after work, standing in the lobby with my jacket on and my heart racing, I kept wondering if this was just a friendly errand or something more. Her email had been short. "Need help picking a birthday cake for Jenna. Bad at flavors. Join me after work." My treat. It looked casual, but to me it felt like a step into her life outside the office. She walked out of the elevator right on time, coat over her arm, hair a little looser than usual after a long day. When she saw me, her face softened. "Ready, cake consultant," she said. "Born ready," I replied, trying not to sound nervous. We walked through downtown Chicago as the city slipped into rush hour. Cars honked, buses hissed, and people streamed past us on the sidewalk. The air was crisp, early fall, with a bite that hinted winter was on the way. The bakery was a few blocks away, a small place with a bell on the door, and glass cases full of frosted cakes and pastries. The smell of sugar and butter hit me as soon as we stepped inside. Allison walked straight to the display, studying each cake like it was a layout on a screen. "Chocolate is too heavy," she murmured. "Vanilla is too boring. Jenna hates anything that tastes fake." I pointed at a raspberry lemon cake with simple white frosting and fresh berries on top. "That one," I said. "It looks clean, not too sweet, kind of like her vibe, bright but not loud." She glanced at me, then at the cake, then back at me with a small approving nod. "Raspberry lemon," she said to the clerk. "You are hired, Jake." Official dessert advisor. We grabbed a couple of small coffees while they boxed the cake. We sat at a tiny table by the window, watching the crowd outside move like a river. "So," she said, taking a sip, "how did you end up in Chicago?" "You never said." "I grew up in a small town in Indiana," I said. "Cornfields, Friday night football, the whole thing." After college, Chicago felt like the closest city with real opportunities. It was either here or New York, and my bank account laughed at New York. She smiled. "Good choice," she said. "Chicago is rough, but it has a soul." "What about you?" I asked. "You always been here." She shook her head. "Milwaukee," she said. "Born and raised." I moved to Chicago after my parents died. Car accident when I was 18. Jenna was still in high school. There was no time for anything but survival. I worked days, took classes at night, did internships. I just kept going and never really stopped. Her voice stayed even, but there was a quiet pain under it. "I am sorry," I said softly. "That must have been heavy." "It was," she answered, "but it also made me who I am. I learned fast that no one was going to hand us anything. You either push or you sink. I chose to push." She tried to make it sound simple, but I heard the cost in every word. "Sometimes," she added, looking out the window, "I wonder what I missed by always being the strong one." I sat there, coffee cooling in my hands, seeing her differently, not just as a powerful boss, but as someone who had carried more than most people my age could imagine. "For what it is worth," I said, "you are not just strong, you are good. You make people better without crushing them. That is rare." Her eyes met mine. There was a flicker of surprise, then something warmer. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That means more than you think." We picked up the cake and walked back toward the office building together. The sky was turning orange behind the skyscrapers. On the corner, we paused. "Thanks for coming," she said. "It was nice not doing this alone." "Anytime," I said, and I meant it. That weekend, our team had a company picnic at Millennium Park. Casual, team building, the usual corporate idea of fun. I showed up in jeans and a hoodie, expecting awkward small talk and forced icebreakers. Allison arrived in a simple sweater and sneakers, hair down, sunglasses on. She looked like a different person from the woman who ran meetings in heels and hard lines. She spotted me by the grill and waved me over. "Get on our tug-of-war team," she said. "We need your competitive spirit." "You just want my weight," I said. "But fine." We lost the match, of course. Someone slipped and we all went down in a pile on the grass. Allison landed right beside me, laughing, her hair a mess, cheeks flushed. I helped her up, hand wrapped around hers, and for a second our eyes met and held. "See," she said, catching her breath, "losing with your head high, that is real grit." Later that night, when I got home, I texted her without overthinking it. "Thanks for today," I wrote. "You are a great boss and an even better friend." I stared at the word friend for a second before hitting send. It felt honest and dangerous. Her reply came fast. "Thanks, Jake. I appreciate you seeing past the tough exterior." From then on, things shifted again. She would tap her watch if she caught me working late at my desk. "Jake, you know I banned emails after 7, she said one evening. "I did not write that rule just to break it." "You wrote that rule for everyone else," I said. She shook her head. "For you too," she answered. "Go home." She gave me more responsibility, more trust. On a national campaign, she put me in charge of the visual direction. "Your instincts are sharp," she said in our one-on-one. "Run with it. I will back you up." I poured myself into the work, staying late a couple of nights to polish every detail. One of those mornings, she dropped a coffee on my desk. "For my lead designer," she said, "you look like you fought a war with the color wheel." I laughed, but inside I felt something else. Seen, valued. Not just as an employee, but as a person. Our conversations went deeper. One night, when the office had mostly cleared out, I saw her light still on. I walked to her door and knocked. "Burning the midnight oil?" I asked. She rubbed her temples. "Something like that," she said. "You heading out?" "Was going to," I said. "Unless you need a second brain." She thought for a moment, then shook her head. "No more brain power," she said, "but I could use pizza. You in?" A half hour later, we were in a small pizza place around the corner. Checkerboard tablecloth, dull lighting, the smell of garlic in the air. We shared a pepperoni pie and a soda, talking first about work, then about everything but work. "You know," she said, picking at a crust, "being the boss is not all glory. Everyone expects you to be perfect. No cracks, no tired days. If you show one weak moment, some people decide you are not fit to lead, especially as a woman." "That sounds exhausting," I said. "I feel it a little on a smaller level, like I have to prove I belong every day." If I mess up once, I worry that is the label that sticks." Quote. She looked at me with that sharp, clear gaze. "You do belong," she said. "You are not just good at your job. You care. That is why I push you. I know what you can do." Her words landed deep. I felt something shift inside, like a lock turning. After that, the texts came more often. A picture of the sunset from her balcony with a line like, "View beats office ceiling tiles." A quick message after a rough client call asking if I was okay. A shared link to a design article she thought I would like. One Sunday, my phone buzzed. "Emergency leaky faucet," she wrote. "Landlord is useless. Do you know anything about plumbing?" I laughed out loud in my kitchen. "Sort of," I replied. "My dad taught me a few things." "Want me to take a look?" "Only if it is not a hassle," she sent back. 20 minutes later, I was at her place in Lincoln Park with a toolbox. Her apartment was modern. Clean lines, big windows, not many personal photos. It looked like a life that had not had much time to slow down. The faucet was an easy fix. Loose piece, worn washer. I took care of it in 15 minutes. "You are a lifesaver," she said, watching me pack up the tools. "I would have drowned in my own kitchen eventually." "Anytime," I said. "Really." She made tea and we ended up on her couch, talking for hours. About books, about music, about little things that had nothing to do with work. The city lights glowed outside her windows. The clock ticked past midnight before I realized it. When I left, she walked me to the door. "Thanks for coming," she said, "and for making my sink stop crying." Her smile was soft and tired and real. I rode the elevator down, feeling like I had stepped even further past some invisible line. We were more than boss and employee now, more than casual work friends. We were becoming each other's safe place. That was the good part. The bad part showed up a few weeks later, in the shape of whispers and side glances. It started with a joke in the break room. Someone saying, "Jake always gets the prime projects now. Must be nice to be the favorite." Then another comment at lunch, "Looks like Allison has a new right hand. Wonder how he scored that spot." Quote, I tried to laugh it off at first, but each small remark chipped at me, at us. The worst came in a team huddle, when Mark, the senior account manager, smirked after she praised my work. "Seems like Jake's ideas always get the green light these days," he said. "Lucky guy." The room went quiet. I felt heat rise in my neck. Allison's face stayed calm, but her jaw tightened. "Jake's work earns the green light," she said firmly. "If you have feedback on the designs, share it. Otherwise, let us stay on task." He backed down with a shrug, but the damage was done. The idea was out there now, floating around the office. Teacher's pet, favorite. Maybe more. By the end of that day, my head was spinning. I did not want my work to look like a shortcut. I did not want her reputation dragged through mud. I also did not want to lose what we were slowly building. The tension sat on my shoulders like a weight as I walked toward her office, heart pounding, hand hovering near her door. Whatever this was between us, we could not ignore what was starting to grow around it, and I knew we had to face it together. I stood outside her office door for a full 10 seconds, my hand hovering near the handle. My pulse was loud in my ears. Every rumor I had heard that week buzzed in my head like a swarm of angry bees. I could have walked away, pretended everything was fine, let it blow over. Instead, I took a breath, knocked once, and stepped inside. "Allison?" I said. She was at her desk, laptop open, light from the screen reflecting in her eyes. She looked up. The moment she saw my face, her expression changed. The calm leader look slipped. Concern took its place. "Close the door," she said quietly. I did. The soft click felt like the start of something we could not undo. "What happened?" she asked. I dropped into the chair across from her and rubbed my hands over my face. "The comments," I said. "Mark in the meeting, the jokes in the break room. People talking like I only get chances because of you. That it is not my work. That there is some deal." She leaned back, exhaling slowly. "I was afraid of this," she said. "I have heard pieces of it too. I hoped it would die on its own. It is not, I said, and it is not just about me. They are making it about you, about your judgment. Like you cannot lead without favoritism. Her jaw tightened. I know how this story goes, she said. Woman in charge, younger guy she works well with. People forget skills and see only a stereotype they like better. She stared at a spot on her desk for a moment, then back at me. Jake, she said. If this keeps building, it could hurt you. I will not let that happen. I can move you to another team. You will still get good work. A different lead. Less noise. The idea hit me like a punch. You want to move me? I asked, trying not to let it sound like hurt. Her eyes softened. No, she said. I do not want to. I like working with you. I trust you more than anyone else on this floor. But I do not want your name dragged through mud because of me. I have been on the wrong side of office gossip before. I know how ugly it can get. I sat with that for a minute, feeling the weight of it. If I move, I said slowly, then what? She swallowed. Then we go back to being just coworkers who say hi in the hall, she said. Maybe friends outside in some careful way. The lines stay clean. My role stays safe. Your career stays safe. It was the safe choice, the logical one, the one that fit the rules. My heart hated it. I do not want that, I said. She blinked. Jake, she said, warning in her tone. We have to be smart. I know, I said, but I am tired of acting like this thing between us is nothing. It started at the beach, maybe, but it did not stop there. The cake shop, the pizza, the late nights, helping with your sink, your texts, when I am burned out, the way you look at me when you think I do not notice, I care about you. The words were out now, no way to take them back. She was very still. Only her fingers moved, curling lightly around the edge of her desk. You care, she repeated quietly. Yes, I said. Not just as my boss, not just as my mentor, as a person, as someone I want in my life. I do not want to pretend that this is just some strange friendship we pause at the office door. Quote. Her eyes glistened, just a little. Do you know how long it has been since someone said something like that to me and meant it? She asked. I shook my head. Years, she said. After my parents died, I built walls. After my last relationship ended, I put steel on top of those walls. He left because I was too ambitious, too focused on work. He told me no one wants to be with a woman who treats her career like a marriage. I decided he was proof that letting people in only hurts. A tear slipped down her cheek. She brushed it away, angry more at the tear than at me. I told myself I would keep everything clean, she went on. No mixing work and life, no blurred lines. Then a designer with messy hair and good instincts walked into my team, and I started breaking my own rules without noticing. She let out a humorless laugh. I hate that this is happening in a way that gives people something to talk about, she said. I hate that our feelings have to fight against office politics. I stood up and moved around the desk, stopping just close enough to feel her warmth. We cannot control what people say, I said softly. We can only control how honest we are with ourselves. I do not want you to sacrifice your happiness just to stay safe in their eyes. And I do not want to lose what we have because others are uncomfortable with something that is not their business. She tilted her head up to look at me. In that moment, she was not the perfect boss. She was a tired, brave woman who had carried too much alone. What do we do then? She whispered. I took a breath. We tell the truth, I said, to the people who need to hear it. Professionally, we set boundaries. We make sure our work stays clean. No shortcuts, no unfair picks. Let the numbers speak. If we need to adjust reporting lines later, we do it for the right reasons, not because we are afraid. And personally, she asked. I swallowed, my heart pounding. Personally, I said, if you want it, I want to be with you, not in secret shame, not like some rumor, just real. The woman whose laugh I love hearing, whose messages I wait for, whose strength makes me want to be better. Quote. The silence that followed felt endless. Every second stretched. Then she stood up. We were close now, closer than we had ever been at work. Her eyes searched mine like she was looking for any sign of doubt. You know this could be hard, she said. There will be days it feels like we are walking uphill against all of it. The looks, the comments, the extra pressure. I know, I said, but I also know what the alternative feels like. Going back to pretending I do not think about you when I am not here. I do not want that life again. Something in her face broke open then. The guarded line of her mouth softened. The tension in her shoulders eased. "Come here," she said. She stepped into me and wrapped her arms around my middle, pressing her face against my chest. I held her, feeling the tremble in her shoulders, the rise and fall of her breath. It was not some dramatic movie moment. It was two people finally letting go of the fear of wanting something. We stayed like that for a long time. When she pulled back, she wiped her eyes and took a steadying breath. "First," she said, the leader returning to her voice, "I am going to talk to the VP. I will tell him there are rumors, that we are close, and that I want to make sure we keep the work clean. I am not giving them a story. I am giving them clarity." "I will back you up," I said. The next day she did exactly that. She sat down with the VP and HR, laid out the facts, the gossip, her expectations. She told them my performance spoke for itself, and that any review could check that. She made it clear she was not stepping down, but she was open to adjusting structure if it helped the team. They chose to keep me on her projects for the moment, with extra review points and clear documentation. No drama, no punishment, just a watchful eye. That same week, during an all-hands, the VP spoke to the whole department. "We are tightening our policies on respect," he said. "If anyone has concerns about bias, use the proper channels. But speculation about coworkers' personal lives has no place here. Focus on the work. That is all." He moved on. The message was short, but it landed. The whispers slowed, then stopped. People went back to worrying about clients and deadlines. A few came up to me quietly and said things like, "Glad you stood strong," or "Your work deserved the praise, man." Do not let anyone take that away from you. Outside the office, we let ourselves breathe, we told Jenna first. At her apartment, over brunch, we sat on her couch while she watched us with a knowing smirk. "I knew it," she said, clapping, "the way you two looked at each other at the beach." Wind or no wind, that was chemistry. Allison groaned and covered her face for a second, but she was smiling when she dropped her hands. "Keep it down," she said. "This is still new." "New or not," Jenna said, hugging us both, "it suits you." Our lives blended slowly after that. We did not rush into moving in together or big promises. We just kept choosing each other. We took the L together some mornings, standing side by side with coffees in hand. She added a second toothbrush to her bathroom. I kept a spare hoodie on the back of her chair. We cooked simple meals in my small kitchen. We spent Sundays at her place with takeout and sketchbooks, trading ideas. On a cool afternoon in late fall, we went back to Belmont Beach. The sky was pale, the water dark and calm. The sand was almost empty except for a few people walking dogs in jackets. The wind was gentle, nothing like the wild gust from that first day. We walked along the shoreline, shoes in hand, feet digging into the cold sand. The air smelled clean. "Do you ever think about that first time?" I asked. She gave me a look. "When the wind tried to ruin my life," she said. "That wind did us a favor," I said. She laughed. A real, full laugh that bounced off the quiet water. "You know," she said, "that moment was my worst nightmare. My worlds crossing in the worst way, work and private life, slamming into each other. But if it had not happened, I might never have let you see past the version of me I keep at the office door." She stopped walking and turned to face me, the lake stretching behind her. "I used to think love was a weakness," she said. "Something that would pull me away from who I needed to be. Now I know the right person stands beside you when you step into your life. They do not pull you out of it." I reached for her hand and laced our fingers together. "And I used to think bosses were just people you survived," I said. "Now I know they can also be the person who sees what you can become before you do." She smiled at that, soft, true, the kind of smile that still made my chest feel too tight. "Jake," she said, her voice low, "I am glad you were there that day." I am glad you looked away when you did, and I am glad you stayed when it got hard. I am not going anywhere, I said. I pulled her close and kissed her there on the quiet beach. No rush, no fear, just us. The wind tugged at her hair, gentle this time, like it had finally learned its lesson. When we pulled apart, she rested her head against my shoulder. We watched the water for a while, the city behind us and the open lake in front of us. My boss once said, "You did not see anything, right?" The wind blew my shirt. I said, "Did not see a thing." The truth is, I saw more than either of us knew that day. I saw the start of the life we were building now,